legacy, it's the faith, it's the history, unerased of a sisterhood, of a race. It's the strength of me, it's the strength, it's the legacy, it's the faith, it's the history, unerased of a sisterhood, of a race. In my shoes, listen to my blues. I stand before you, resilient.
Everybody, I am Levi Perrin with Unerased. I'm here again tonight with our next Instagram Live episode featuring the wonderful Carolyn Malachi, just all around musician, audio engineer, professor, educator, Grammy Award nominee. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what? First, how do you find time to wear so many hats? Even right now, you're wearing a hat.
This one's from Tokyo. That's a great question. I'm really glad you asked that too, because I don't know that I've ever had the time. And I know that there's a lot more to do. And one thing I've learned most recently is it's probably not good to do all the things all the time. It's probably not healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something I've been learning recently too. I think as a kid, I always wanted to achieve. And then as an adult, I did so many things, and now I'm wondering, one, where does that come from? And two, do I need to be all the things all the time at every second? Not that it can be, I mean, you might be doing, I hope, a million things that you love, but how are you kind of balancing them now? Like,
that's what I was just going to. That's what I was going to ask you. Like, how do you find time, or when do you find time for restoration?
I think I'm still learning it.
Me too.
But I think I'm being more comfortable in listening to myself when my body doesn't want to do something. That isn't me being lazy. That's me saying, I need a moment.
Mm-hmm. Hey. Yeah, and I think that's reasonable to say. I mean, you asked where that comes from. I had a really interesting talk with my grandmother and a few aunts a few days ago about strong Black woman, what that means. And I've been studying this as a scheme. I've been reading a lot of research about what defines the strong Black woman, and what are some of the risks associated with being a strong Black woman. So I find this well done research. And I felt so proud about sending it to my grandparents and my aunts. Let's read this together. And the first thing they said was, they were like, well, do you mean the strength that has sustained us throughout generations and generations? And I'm like, whoa.
That's not what, wait, what?
Yes, that. And also, when do we take breaks? Mm-hmm. When I feel like we grind, we hustle, we push, because that's not just what we know how to do. It's just in us. We push through all the obstacles. But when do we take the time to, I don't know, engage in play as much as we engage in work? So I've been a little bit more intentional about striking that balance lately. And I think it's coming through in the art, if you will.
Speaking of art, tell me a bit about how you got into music, sound production, audio engineering, and the like.
As far as getting into music, it's very much in the family. My great grandfather was a pianist. He played for a lot of amazing jazz vocalists, including Sarah Vaughan. He was a professor at Howard in the jazz department. He taught Jerry Allen. Yeah. And so I've always been exposed to really, really fantastic music. And I don't know, I just feel like if it's in you, it's in you. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's that. But as far as the engineering piece, I think that goes back to being a kid. And yeah, it will. Yeah, it will. Dave, say that.
Right?
It will. But God bless Megan Thee Stallion's knees. Amen. So, but no, even as a kid, like I think for a lot of artists, for a lot of Black artists, you hear stories about, you know, their development starting in the church. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say a lot of that is also accurate for me. Like I was in the choir, but I was also like in the control room.
Shout out to the youth
You know,
choir.
yeah. And shout out to Mr. Dennis for letting me like move faders when I was 10 years old. Like I just was always enamored by that. Like you can make you can totally change somebody's mood just by, you know, making the sopranos louder. Like that's
Yeah.
that was incredible. And I don't know, like when you grow up with computers and phones, you find ways to make music. So um, it really wasn't until undergrad. I used to play basketball at Shepherd
Mm-hmm.
D2 school. So I would like go to class, go to basketball practice, and go to the computer lab to make beats. And that would just be my routine. And then eventually, I spent so much time in the lab. My coach was like, "You have to choose because
One or the other.
you're not doing your training outside of practice, and it shows." So, and then I you know, was able to link up with musicians and start bands and make records, and came home to DC and, you know, linked up with some producers, which was really great because to I wanted to like take my work to the next level, and I wasn't sure how.
Mm-hmm.
So way to do that I found is just it's by trying to connect with or work with people who are much smarter than you and much better than not you, much better than you, Levi. No, just much like smarter than me and much better than me in the areas that I want to grow in. So yeah, I've just been trying to grow and get better ever since. And I don't want to mention anything too soon, but there's a perfect circle that'll happen with this story I'll tell you about. Yeah.
Perfect. As part of the story, I know that you've hosted, I want to say several, but I know at least a couple of podcasts before Unerased.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, was that, did you get into podcasting because it's just a natural offshoot of like audio engineering and like production? Or is it just another interest that you have like independent of that?
That's a great question. So, the why is always going to be something that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the first podcast I worked on was called Grits and Gari. And it wasn't that I needed to do a podcast. It was that my now husband and I were just getting together, and um, I think we were both observing just the differences, the cultural differences between his
Mm-hmm.
family and mine, but also seeing how similar we were.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, love will make you do really interesting things. It's
We love to
amazing.
see it.
Love is really powerful. Like I just I remember, I mean, I still am just madly in love with my husband, but I remember maybe 6 to 8 months after we met, I mean, I was writing all kinds of songs and just making like just creating whole initiatives. So yeah, I wanted to do a podcast that would bring people from the African diaspora together just to talk
Mm-hmm.
and to use music as a conversation. And that, in a very interesting way, led to me being able to work on Unerased. I'm really just grateful to be part of that. Part of this production is amazing. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Unerased episode?
I think no, I'm quite certain. My favorite Unerased episode is the one that just dropped, the Black Women
Black women.
Liberators episode. Oh my goodness. That Dr. Antoinette Harrell?
That was a great episode.
I wish everybody could hear the 32 minutes that aren't in the episode, like the 32
Yes.
minutes of interview content that couldn't make it just because there's too much.
Mm-hmm.
Just mind blowing. I had a script of questions, but when she came into the room, the virtual studio, I don't know, like the script just kind of went away. I was just like, how in the world are you finding cases of families still enslaved, still living on plantations in the Deep South
Mm-hmm.
in the 1950s, in the 1970s?
My parents were around. Like how?
How, Sway? How?
And I try to make people understand that slavery is not that far away, even when we're talking about the 1860s. But when you bring things, like you said, into the 50s, 60s, 70s of the 20th century, it's one thing to not be far away from me, and I'm a 90s baby, but like 100 years before I was born.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're talking 15, 20 years, that's the distance between me and like some of my younger cousins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's incredible. She and yeah, I saw, yes, maybe we should drop it as bonus content. That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something that Dr. Harrell said during the interview that I think bears mentioning, that it didn't make the episode, but there's a film that's coming out, Alice, with Keke Palmer and Common.
Mm-hmm.
She believes that film is based on her research.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a super exclusive. I usually read the transcripts, but I didn't this time around.
Yeah, these transcripts are very spicy. I
Yeah.
need you to read them. But the emotion that she brings to her work, and she's just like, she not only does she find these cases, she helps families like locate their history. Like, it's very healing and cathartic. And I asked her, because the theme of the episode is Black women liberators, do you see yourself as a liberator? She said, no. How?
Mm-hmm.
You're literally setting people free. I don't know. This is the most recent episode is my favorite episode for sure. And then Dr. Nikki Haley came on and talked about the real life Setha. So for everybody who is familiar with Beloved,
Mm-hmm.
Margaret Garner is the real life Black woman who the character Setha is based off of. So yeah, it was a great episode.
This is just kind of an off-the-cuff question, but have you ever tried to track your own family as far back as slavery? Or as far back as your family was enslaved? Because I know we were emancipated in waves.
Mm-hmm. I have. On my father's side, I have. And, when you look for, apparently, unfortunately, of course, it is what it is. When you look for slave records, you're looking for property.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not found anyone who was owned who had the surname Malachi.
Mm-hmm.
I have found freed Blacks by the name of Malachi living in Florida, close to like the Florida South Carolina line.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of makes sense because I know that, my folks at least came through South Carolina to North Carolina, Red Springs, North Carolina. They left there in 1921 and came to DC,
Mm-hmm.
where I was born, 5 generations later. But I got some tips from Dr. Harrell that I'm going to follow for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've done a little research of one branch, my maternal grandfather, we can trace them to about the 1750s. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of that has to do with they were the children and grandchildren of the people that owned them, so their records were just kept a bit better.
Yeah.
And on my dad's side, I have been able to trace my last name, at least, where parent comes from. To like the Civil War. But I don't want to say there's a silver lining. If there's any silver lining in all of this, it looks like though we were property for the most part, I think each branch of my family was kind of kept together. So though I don't know all of the names, I don't know all of the birth and death dates, it does seem like they never left more than a mile or two of each other. Even though slavery is a atrocity. I guess even in horror, I'm glad that their brothers and sisters and cousins were nearby. But I don't think that's anything I'll ever stop looking for. Their names I'll probably never in my lifetime find, but if I find 10 and my kids find 10 and my great grandkids find 10,
there you go.
Eventually, maybe we'll find everybody.
Yep. Whew.
I'm gonna circle back.
So many layers.
Before we, I think, got in this really, really good digression, which is one of the things I wanted to talk to you about tonight. I know that you've been releasing music at least since 2013. I believe since 2009 was the jazz album.
Yeah, technically 2008.
Okay.
There's a Revenge of the Smart Chicks 1 album that will never see the light of day.
Oh, super deep cut.
Yeah, my dad loves it. I caught him bootlegging it like years ago. Like I went to his office and I just saw like stacks of CDs. So what are you doing? He was just like burning them and giving them to people at his office.
Don't you love parents?
I love parents.
And I know you released Gold in 2013, and then in 2016, I believe it was Chapter 1. Where are you? Where you are. And now this year, you're coming, and there were singles in the between and since. But we're on the cusp of a new album. Can you tell me?
We are.
Give us a little scoop.
We are on the cusp of a new era. And I thought I saw Andros on here. I don't know that I see him anymore. But I can tell you what I'm not going to call the project. The title's still in flux, but I originally was going to call it Quiet. And
Quiet.
Huh. Hey!
We out here.
That guy right there. That's my ace. My homie. So we worked on this project together. And sorry, I haven't told you yet, but I can't call it Quiet anymore because silence, Audre Lorde said it best, silence will kill you. Your silence will kill you if you let it. So, and I don't think that's a direct quote, but something around there, silence and death. Either way, I can't call the project. I can't call it Quiet anymore. I can say what the project is. It's a labor of love. It is all love, pure love, like pure energy, pure vibes. Every song sounds different. It's very much a story. It's a movie. So like how what I think is an accurate description. That like signature Spike Lee shot where the character's like standing but like moving at the same time. I think like that's the feeling of some of the record. I don't know. It's just a mood.
That makes sense. This is how you stand still and your mind can still race. Like you're never not.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
You're always moving, even when you're not.
Exactly. So there are a few songs, and each song is a counter narrative to a master narrative or a popular narrative in the media. So for example, we hear a lot about the Great Resignation, but the characterizations of people who have decided to leave the workforce or maybe just do a little bit less is quite negative. But when you talk to people, and if you are the people who are living and working through a pandemic, you would know that at least for the folks who were able to transition, who were fortunate enough to be able to transition to like Zoom or to be able to work from home, it's not that people don't want to work. It's that, folks have found out how efficient work from home can be. People have decided, hey, maybe I don't want to be exposed to a deadly virus. Like folks are smart. And then also the workers who are deemed essential are, putting themselves at risk. I mean, this was the case when I was writing the music. So I think I'm really trying to get at a lot of stories that are told about people that just aren't true. And also a lot of the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves that just aren't true. Like there's a song, I'm gonna laugh, there's a song called Brunch, which is you know, it's about brunch.
Mhm.
It's about what happens after brunch, but or what could potentially happen after brunch if you're lucky. But also, it is very much commentary on, my right or any woman's right to be able to plan when we want to have children
Mhm.
and not for that to be a mandate or a requirement. So it's a really layered record, but it's so much fun. And I have to like give huge props and energy and love to Andros, my partner in crime here. Like I had these like, draft productions of each song, except for Brunch. Well, I did have a kind of a draft of Brunch, but I had like these drafts and these ideas, and it was a, a huge deal when I handed them over to him. Like I was like, look, can we kind of do this together? Because in the past, when I've done that, I've had a lot of producers who wanted to like change the idea entirely.
Mhm.
And this was the first time this is the first time I've had like the language to say what needed to be done, and the first time I've had the
Right.
skills to like, implement new ideas, etc. And it's been like a super collaborative process, and I learned so much from him during the creation of the record. He's just amazing. He brought so much to the table, so much grace, so much insight, um, so much courage, and yeah, and he was just like very open minded. And I'm really grateful because I have like my ideas are like this.
Yeah.
I want
Bouncing.
this. I want a didgeridoo. I want, a dog barking on this part. I want this, that, and the third. And there are moments like we had like some really cool discussions, and I realize like sometimes, there are things that we want to do that don't serve the mission. So let's get back to the mission. Like,
I
what
like that
needs
quote.
to be done. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So but musically, it's really amazing. There's some incredible string arrangements on there. Um, some lovely horns. Be More Brass Factory is on the record. Nicole Neely did the strings. Kevin Powell Jr., who's a longtime collaborator of mine, the bass player on All Right, or as people call it, It's Gonna Be All Right.
Oh,
Um,
okay, yeah,
yeah, but no, it's. I've never had so much fun making a record ever,
yeah.
and
We're
I believe that when people get their hands on the music, it's just going to become part of everybody's life. And you
Mhm.
won't be able to go to Starbucks or the mall or get gas or drive. Well, nobody's driving now, but
Yeah.
or or do anything without hearing this music because it's so amazing.
So just
Yeah.
stick with you.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think it's about sticking with me. I think it's about just like enjoying the ride in your own way.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea of when we can hear it? I know that's like always uh, I won't say, I have a lot of friends that are musicians, and I'm always slow to ask them, when can I, like, what's the date? What about season?
Oh,
Summer, fall,
summer,
winter,
summer.
summer. Okay.
I forgot to shout out Chris Garinger. He did the mastering. So, Chris and Liz, thanks, guys. Mhm.
Okay. Oh, it's almost 6:30. I'm out of questions. I was gonna toss it over to you.
Levi, I have not talked about this album publicly. This is the first time I've said
Oh,
it.
super, super exclusive. I thought I was hopping onto the promo tour.
Uh, no, no,
No.
I haven't said anything at all. Oops, sorry. I don't know. I haven't committed to any exclusives or anything. So anyway, I mean, I just, music is about energy, and I I don't remember which writer said. Oh, here we go. Marita Golden, another
Okay.
podcast guest. She
Friend
said
of the show.
Yeah, another show episode. She wrote the book. She said something during that interview, and I don't know if this made it to the final edit, but she said, I think she said like she got tired of, or she just wasn't reading the things that she wanted to read. So she started writing, or she said something to that effect.
She did say something like, I think it did make the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are sounds that I've just been like wanting to hear and feel in music that I haven't. And that's another reason why I felt like important to do like, so I play like a Moog synth, and the just the texture of that instrument is so pretty. It's
Will you say the instrument again? You say you play the what?
It's a Moog. I've heard 2 or 3 different pronunciations, but it's like a synth bass. It's a keyboard. Okay. I've been like, I've had it for like maybe 3-4 years now, and I've been really hesitant about rocking it like on a record or live. But you know why, Levi?
Why?
Impostor syndrome. It's a tool of the devil. That's what it is.
You are where you're supposed to be at the time you're supposed to be there. And I try to constantly tell myself that. Yes,
that's true. That's true. How many times do we get amazing opportunities, or, we have an inkling, we want to do something, but we start to do it, and then you feel like, oh, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not supposed to. Maybe I don't have enough training. I don't have enough.
If I have this, then I'll be good. If I have this, then I'll be comfortable.
Right. If I had some fake lashes, my eyes would look cute. Like, no,
just do it. One of my friends calls that. What does she call it? She calls it like the and then what exercise that she does with some of her clients.
Oh, what's that?
And if I say, I'm not ready to host an interview with Carolyn, and she said, okay, you need more preparation time, and I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, and then what? I was like, okay, then I'm going to listen to all her music. And then what? Then I'm going to write questions. And then like, eventually you get to the end of the, and then what?
I love
And she's like, are you preparing, or are you trying to confidently procrastinate?
I wish this room was big enough for me to run around. Wow. Confidently procrastinate.
And also, you know what? I do keep assigning myself homework to get out of feeling uncomfortable with something new.
Wow, that's a word. Ooh, I'm ready for the benediction. That was,
You said we're starting this off as a sermon, so.
That's really, Limo, that is really good. I got one for you.
Yeah.
And this one I think it's potentially problematic, but it kind of works. So instead of saying, I have to, you know how we say, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. Some people have begun to say, I get to.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I've never thought about that. I get to do this.
I get to do this.
Because it makes it sound like a reward.
A luxury.
Uh-huh.
I get to edit these transcripts. Hey.
Looking around for my non-existent tambourine.
Yeah. Oh, man, I have a tambourine story.
Okay. I've never heard the sentence, I have a tambourine story, so you have to tell.
So, like, I halfway grew up in the church, right?
Same.
And I think, like halfway. Like maybe like 42% of the way there.
Oh no, my family was 142%. So.
Oh no. Like we went for a long time. I grew up in Union Temple Baptist Church. It didn't,
Come on,
we didn't go anymore. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm big time Baptist Betty over here. But so during the production of this album, a shout out to Maurice Stinky Face. He's like one of the co-producers on the record, but he came in to hear the song, and we were about to like record tambourine for another song, and I'm like, all right, let's do this tambourine. Levi, do you know I don't have rhythm on the tambourine? I found out that day.
You thought it was easy. You pulled it out and just thought you were going to do it.
I didn't know there was a whole technique. So like, I guess Maurice saw me suffering was like, I used to play the tambourine in church. I was like, okay, sure. Like, anybody can do this. Man, when he had the whole, behind the back on the hip going, I was like, wow, okay, would you mind like recording with
You
us?
know what? That makes sense though, because now that I think about it, while there always was a tambourine player, I've never seen more than 2 in one place. So that means a lot of people can't do it. I'm not going to try because in my head, I'm really good at it. So I'm just going to say that is truth and I'll never confirm it.
I had no idea the hubris with which I approached the playing of the tambourine. I feel so bad. I feel so bad. I will never just think it's easy again. Oh, man. But yeah, that's my tambourine story.
Perfect.
Were you in the choir?
I was. And, I'm really not that good of a singer. I was in the Sunbeam Choir, which were like the little kids. Aww. Then I graduated to the youth choir. I did chorus at school. And honestly, I went into college very confident about I can at least sing backup. And a couple of my friends who are artists invited like a group of people to come in and sing like some vocals on a track. Like, you didn't have to be great at it. Just come in and do it. And I realized in that moment that I think I was maybe like 26 at the time. For the 26 years before that, everyone had lied to me. And like, I was not good. Like, I didn't carry the note.
But see, you found out for yourself.
Yeah.
You found out for yourself. I had like the opposite experience. So I was like 12 and I was a part of this youth arts thing in DC. Oh, thanks, Andros. I was a part of this youth arts thing. And I'm going to be very general about it because I'm just trying to protect the innocent. Yeah. So one of the, we were like doing like a choral piece or something. And I had a solo. And one of the instructors was just like, some of us just shouldn't sing. I was 12.
You can't say that to a 12-year-old. Even the really bad ones, you can't say that. I would have at least told their parents and said, like, can you do something? Like, I wouldn't have. Some of us just shouldn't sing.
Well, joke's on you, because
right.
Joke's on you, buddy. Yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting the way time and people evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, never stop growing.
I feel like the older I get, the more I realize. It's funny being the age that a lot of the adults were when I was like a little kid, and I just thought they know everything in the world. Like, and now I'm realizing that, they knew more than me because I was 4, but they didn't have it all figured out.
They had more life.
They were still winging it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had that epiphany recently. I was like, oh, we're all just figuring this out. Okay. That's awesome. Destroys my concept of parents, etc.
Now that was a funny, and I say funny because not hilarious, but like strange realization when I realized that my parents were people with like lives and experiences and personalities outside of mom and dad. And I think it took me a minute to get adjusted to that. I understand it now. I think at the time, seeing in real time that they're always, my angels, they my people. Nobody has a better mama than me. But understanding that that's not all she is.
Yeah.
And there was a life before I got here.
They had lives, they had partners, they had adventures. And you said something really key, like at least like for me, and watching my parents now and talking to them now, I have so much more appreciation for them as parents because they had to do all of this growing and learning and figuring out life, and they still were my parents.
Yeah, how did you do that at the same time?
My parents Me? Oh Lord, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. I just think it's incredible, you know. Like I want to be a mom one day, but if I'm honest, like I find it terrifying.
Yeah.
I find it terrifying. And the thing, I'll talk about anything at any time. I kind of don't have any qualms about that, but you know, I think I think women especially feel pressure to drop everything when kids are born. And
Yeah.
it's been said to me many times, you know, when you have kids, your life is over.
Your
Well,
life isn't
now
yours
I
anymore.
really want to have kids. And just like there's a difference between your life isn't yours anymore. Like you have responsibilities,
Yeah,
etc.
your life changes, sure.
Yeah, I think we need to change the language around that
Mm-hmm.
because, and I'm very proud to be corrected, but I don't hear people telling men the same thing. So what's the assumption? What's the only assumption one can make here? That all the responsibility should
Is
fall on who? The woman. We got to fix that. We got to fix that. So, and
I think it goes to that strong Black woman thing too, that we just look to women to be the like chaperone of life.
mm-hmm.
Everybody else gets to play, but you have to always manage. I don't think manage is the right word, but maybe it's the responsibility of life falls onto the woman, and then everybody else gets to enjoy the security provided by the person providing the responsibility.
Yeah, but you keep chiseling at a rock, what happens?
Right.
Eventually.
And people say all the time, going to that, like, what happens when the family matriarch is gone? Like, what happens when we allow a person or a group of people to be the only rock, and there isn't shared responsibility? When you take that rock away, it can take sometimes years, a generation for people to recover from something like that. And it shouldn't be that way. Like we shouldn't put that much on the rock, and we also shouldn't be taking that much from the rocks in our lives.
Mm-mm. I know this is a very serious moment, but when you said what happens when the matriarch goes away, I just thought about soul food.
Okay,
and the cousin,
mama, your arm,
cousin Faye.
cousin Faye.
That's what happens. Cousin Faye comes around. Okay.
I think about that movie all the time. You can honestly relate soul food to anything.
To anything.
And Terry wasn't wrong. I don't care what nobody said.
No, the kitchen scene was a great scene. Great scene.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, yeah. I don't know. I don't think we think about that enough. Yeah, we don't think about it enough. The word you're looking for, what phrase you're looking for, and I'm taking this from the research paper that I read, is called maladaptive perfectionism. Maladaptive perfectionism.
I've never heard.
Maintain this visage of strength and perfection. We always have to be put together, always have to be in control, no matter what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's unrealistic.
Yeah.
For a long period of time.
Imagine no one can do that forever.
No, can't do that forever. Imagine living like that and having no outlet for your emotions. How does that stress manifest?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still reading research on that, but it seems to be manifesting in, anxiety and depression.
Yeah. And then we don't deal with it or find ways to talk about it, and then it just gets passed to the next person in the line.
Yeah. Also from the researchers, self-silencing and isolation. Exactly what you just said. And this research is quite recent. I think this particular paper or study is done in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think we just have to change. Everything is a story. Everything is a story. And a lot of the reading that I'm doing now, especially about, it's called entertainment education. I thank God for my colleague, Christine McWhorter. She's like really showing me some things, but she introduced me to the research of Albert Bandura and Miguel Sabido.
Mm-hmm.
So Miguel Sabido was he like developed like the telenovas in
Mm-hmm.
Mexico, but the social issue he was they were trying to address was Mexico's population growth issue. I think like at that time in the 90s, families were having like, it was like 3.9 kids or something like that. And so using the art, using the telenovelas, excuse me, I said telenovas, telenovelas, using the art, just, you know, I guess subliminal messaging or however they work that messaging into these episodes for like the 5 years when he was doing this research and putting these messages in the episodes, the population declined from like 3.9 kids per family to like 2.4. So that's
just like seeing the images and the storylines being reinforced over time.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. It's a different way of learning. And, you know, one thing Bandura said in an interview that I watched was, you know, people don't, you know, we go to school to learn, but people don't stop learning when they leave the classroom. We're always learning.
Yeah, no.
From things we see and things we hear. Yeah. So I'm trying to, with this album, I'm trying to teach us to get us to think a different way about just to think differently, like think critically, like to decide for ourselves what we want, how we're going to get there, who we want to be, you know.
And it's okay to want things.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think that's part of the hesitation in a lot of people is that it's not that we don't already think it. Well, we don't think it's okay to think that.
Yep. That's not for me.
Right.
That's not for us.
Uh-huh.
Oh, we don't do that.
We don't
Why
do that.
Don't we? We don't go hang gliding, but why don't we?
Yeah. Who said?
Who said that's not for us? Why? Exactly. Yeah. I don't leave my state. Why?
Why?
What are you afraid of?
Yeah, I think my dad would always say, and I don't think this can be applied to every single scenario, but y'all understand the point. Don't tell yourself no. Like things. If you don't like it, you don't like it. You don't have to go back. But look at the ways that you're being your own barrier.
Yep.
And I really think Black people need to, and maybe it applies to other races. I've only ever been Black, but it's okay. It's okay to be okay with trying new things and doing things that we've never done before. And we don't have to feel guilty about that. I think maybe that also comes from that generational connection to slavery too. Why don't we slow down? Why don't we take a break? Why can't we like enjoy leisure? Why do we have to go? And maybe that's just a leftover survival tactic of you can't afford to look idle.
Ooh, yep.
Maybe.
Because if you're not working, you're not valuable.
Mm-hmm. And we have to be valuable.
Yep. I struggle with that personally. Yeah. Yep. It's I don't know. You said that and I forgot whatever it was I was about to say. That really hit me. That really hit me. Wow. Yeah. I'm trying to work on that. I imagine other people are too. But I think it's, you know, my bonus mom, the preferred term for stepmom. I don't like the term stepmom. So my bonus mom.
Oh, I like bonus mom.
I was talking to her some time ago. And I was like, so, you know, what are you doing? What's new? How's it going? She was like, you know, nothing's really new. I'm good, but nothing's new. I was like, okay. Nothing? She was like, no, I'm content. It's like, huh? Content?
Wait a minute, what? You can do that?
What's that? Contentment. I had to look it up. I mean, I know what contentment means. Right. So I was just like, let me make sure I understand what she's saying according to Webster. But no, side of saying, hey, we need to rest, we need to do XYZ is also being able to say, but if you're content running yourself 24/7, then do you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay to not want to do that. It's okay to say, hey, listen, I got your little email. I'm
I
on
saw
the
it.
bench. I just want you to know I saw it. But I have an out of office message that you keep emailing me, and I just want you to know that out of office message is real. It's really real. You know?
I will get to you when I get to you.
Yeah, like in the nicest way possible,
Right.
of course. But I just feel like, you know, setting boundaries is super important, and it's so hard to do because we feel like I feel like a lot of people maybe feel like we're robbing someone of the gift of our presence. I don't know why setting boundaries is so hard, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
I
think it comes from thinking they count on me, they depend on me, they need me. And also, I think it's a mix of that with they didn't ask for something big. It's just one little thing I can do really quick. It's another little thing. It's another little thing. And then it becomes hours of
little things.
Hours of, yeah, you have 50 10-minute tasks now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So where did that hour go?
Mm-hmm.
Now you have only 10 minutes to shower, jog, eat your breakfast,
get some water, and get back on Zoom.
Yeah. Oh, God. Ooh, the Zoom days. I can't say I miss them so much, but yeah, man. Yeah. It's difficult. It's difficult to do. For sure. But it can be done. I think we just have to get comfortable with doing it and get comfortable with saying, I don't know, maybe I sound like a Debbie Downer, but I don't mean to. I don't mean to. I just think it's time and this is for anyone who has an issue doing it. I just think it's time we acknowledge our own humanity and say, hey, you know, I'm not a machine.
Mm-hmm.
Like I need some downtime. I understand profits are important, but I'm important too. And so is my family.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to do. For me, it's especially difficult because sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah, like there are a lot of important parts, but we human beings, like we're not computers, we're the most important part of it.
Yeah. Wait, as you were talking, I was listening. I wasn't just thinking, but I was listening. And I think I was reminded of one reason why I'm really sensitive to working all the time and just like always sort of like being industrious. So like during the 2008, 2009 like crash, like financial crash, I lost my job, and that was like really traumatic. And I remember, you know, remember finding out why is because like the unit that I was working for, it just wasn't profitable. It wasn't making money. It was HR. Yeah, like we don't need this. Like this is kind of superfluous. We can do without it. But and it's hard to like, I don't know, come to terms with that. But it was also really encouraging because I started a company and went back to work at that company as a contractor, providing a really valuable service.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, I guess there's lessons in everything.
Even when we don't see it at the time. I'm sure you weren't thinking that wouldn't happen. But then you can trace the map when you look back.
Yeah, when you sit and take time to focus on one thing instead of like the 50 things happening around you. Yeah. There's a song on the record and that's coming out. It's called Rain on the Window.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all the lyrics to the song. Basically, just rain on the window.
3 words.
Rain on the window.
4 words.
Yeah. I mean, there's like maybe a couple other words, but like the whole song is that because I don't know if you have anxiety attacks. But
I'm a millennial. It comes with the territory.
it does. We get them bad, real bad. So, but I've found that what works for me, like to calm me down, is just focusing on one thing, one thing. And that's like the purpose of that song, is just to, model that. Just sometimes, it could be whatever. Bird in a tree, bird in a tree. For that day, it was the rain on the window. It worked. It worked. Yes.
Which now I'm seeing how you got to the word quiet, because it does kind of quiet your mind in a way.
It does. A
Or
lot of that
order.
record, yeah. It does for sure. And I think that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go with quiet at first, because it was kind of a double entendre. Like, yeah, it does bring you into a quiet place and it is healing. But at the same time, the songs came about during a really like quiet time. Meaning you're not during the pandemic, you're in quarantine, you're not, well, at least for me, I'm not going to a gig or, out and about, going to see people. You're just stuck in the house, and me and my boo. And when it's just you, or if you're just single, you're the only person or the only two people you have to deal with. So yeah, it might be quiet, but it's real loud, because you really are just, and it's like you get to come into contact with a part of yourself that you have not had the pleasure of meeting in a long time, and you have to decide whether or not you like that person, whether or not you like that part.
And you can't get away from it.
You can't get away from it. Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's the perfect note.
And my stomach growled, so I'm hungry. Levi, this was fun. You're great to talk to. Let's just talk sometime.
Yeah, let's just do this. It just flowed. Like, I didn't realize how much time was going by. You're officially probably going to be the most popular video. We've stayed steady with views, and I've never talked more than like 15 minutes. So, maybe that was me talking to myself saying, I'm not ready to be an interviewer. I can do this for an hour.
You can do it. See, don't confidently procrastinate. And hey to everybody who's been present.
Who hopped in.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see you all.
Yeah, I love this, Carolyn. We'll definitely do it. And there has to be a part 2.
I agree.
Maybe do a little listening party.
Yes. Okay, I'm here for it. Oh, and just because it needs to be said, I don't know if Gwen's watching now, but happy birthday, Gwen.
Oh yeah, happy birthday to our, we should have led with that.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Gwen. I know she's going to watch it.
I hope so. Enjoyed you too.
Yeah, thank you for being here, everyone. We'll be back in 2 weeks with Carrie Spicer on March 24th.
Nice.
Same time, same place. Yeah.
And check out the podcast.
Yeah, and we're dropping on March 23rd. I forgot which title comes next, though.
Wait for it. Oh, it's gone.
But you know what? You can find out if you join our mailing list. You can sign up on UnerasedBWS.com. You can be one of the first to listen.
Bye.
All right. Bye, Carolyn. Thank you so much.
Bye, Levi.
Bye.